Oh, there was a
Yes, they did.
7.4, Mike, just so you know. We talked about it before you got on, but
Yeah, I know.
yeah, 7.
I'm watching the when that happens. Of course, Haiti is tied to that plate. Haiti is,
Really?
and so are two portions of Russia. But I'm always watching the Coast plate.
Yep.
Because if that plate starts to shift, Mexico is going to have a volcanic eruption, a pretty enormous one, and at that point we're going to lose the San Andreas. Right?
Okay, that's some of the questions
also,
people ask: is when is the big one, Mike? And
yeah, when that is so, Mexico is like a trigger for that entire fault line, and if the Coast plate is dislodged, right? I mean, without it, with it the plates are held pretty stable. Without it, if it crumbles, if it shifts, there's no way that subduction zone is going to survive anything. It's going to let loose, and then, well, you're going to have a land crack. Here's what's so dangerous about that, though. I hope everybody understands that if California has that type earthquake, it's going to be a long durational earthquake. So it's not going to shake and stop. It's going to shake and continue. Wow. And when it does this, it will affect the Grand Canyons. And when that happens, it will affect the Mississippi, because underneath the Mississippi, they've been doing land surveys for a long time. They have new methods of looking inside the earth, and they're starting to find things that will make your hair raise up on the back of your neck, right? We have another Yellowstone type issue right here in America. 2 of them. So one was spotted under New York, obviously. The other one is right there below the Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
It is long. It has multiple chambers, it looks like. So an earthquake on the West Coast would dislodge this continent, period, right? No wonder the Native Americans call this Turtle Island, because it has an ability to shift. The whole thing can crack and start turning upside down, this continent that we're on. So yeah, if California is let loose, it will affect the entirety of the USA, right? Because a lot of people thought that, the New Madrid was the dangerous one. No, there are other faults in America that they have not disclosed. One of the reasons they won't disclose them is because people are smarter these days. People have access to the internet. Yeah. And if they know of a fault line, and if they know what type it is, because they will go and investigate and find out the details, then they will eventually learn what threat we're truly under, and they will spread that news. They want everybody to be tranquilized up until the last moment, right?
Wow.
They don't want people to know these things, because it will cause them to have a worse job. They can't maintain the populace that way. Plus, we would interfere with their people. The first thing people will say is, there's no way they're not preparing. I'm going to go, they start checking out things, and then they would understand why certain things are happening all around the world like they are. These people who are in the know, they are preparing. And it takes a good, 8 to 10 years, 8 to 15 years to truly prepare for this. You can't prepare for what's about to happen in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Right. You can't do it.
So the Cocos Plate's very important to watch. You've been watching a long time in the subduction zone. What about one of the questions that came in, Mike, was, does he have any update for us on the wall of meteors that are coming to hit us? Do we have
Well, they're still. We're not going to miss them. We're headed right for it. We're not going to miss them.
Do you have any kind of an ideal? Do we have any ideal on the timing on that?
There is, but it's probably not very smart to say anything about that right now at this moment.
Okay.
But I'll say this: as we continue to trek through space, right, we're going pretty fast. This entire solar system is, and we have a corkscrew type motion, a corkscrew plus an up and down, like a AC sine wave, right? We go up and down like that around the galaxy. We're headed into another part of space we've not been in before. So we've been traveling this entire time, and we're about to encounter a lot of gases, which means a lot of debris, right? Gases look so benign on a picture, but you're talking about some huge particulates and particles, the size of planets. We're about to go into it. Now, we have an asteroid belt if anything obstructs that asteroid belt, we're going to get pummeled, right? And the solar system is designed in a specific way where Jupiter keeps that asteroid belt in check. It will add to it. It will build it up, and it acts like a shield. We have the Van Allen belts, which also help through its magnetic shielding properties. It can actually start to redirect and increase gravitational pull on a certain side of Jupiter where things are kind of pulled around and ejected. All that's going to fail once we go through the heavier debris. It will begin with sporadic inbound impacts, right? So kind of like right now, how many people are aware that we have impacts every single week on the Earth?
Yeah. I mean, we don't.
We're not talking about tiny ones either.
I mean, most of them are most of them hit the ocean probably, but some do hit
the
land,
ocean
right?
or Mexico.
Really?
The ocean or Mexico,
Why Mexico?
Or part of Russia, because there is an anomaly in Mexico, right? That planes do not fly over. They do not. They don't send spacecraft over this area. It's part of the magnetic field shielding around the Earth. It goes into the Earth in that area and is amplified and then weakened, is somewhat chaotic. They call it an anomaly. That anomaly is moving, Pastor Paul. As the equator shifts, it's going to move up to us. Because the Earth is moving. The Earth is moving.
That's one of the questions. Any updates on the equator moving?
Well, yes, the Earth is moving. And for a long time now, the North Pole has been shifting over the years faster and faster and faster and faster.
Right.
Now, let me tell you here's what this means. Should we continue, do you not know that in America at 10:15 p.m., right, one of these summers, probably, it could be next summer, but at 10:15 p.m., the sun will still be up.
Okay.
10:15 p.m. at night.
That's
every night. The sun will. That means the sun will not set until about 10:30.
That's that. So you're saying we will have tilted. We will have tilted at
a
different angle.
There you go. So we're starting to alter. We're going to be altering big time now. These small, tiny movements right now, they move exponentially, which means as we continue to go on through these processes, things will happen faster and faster and faster. Right? The Earth will be out of its orbit at some point. They already know this. They know this. You know how when I got in trouble for this when I was a kid, but somebody told me one time, right? They go, they discovered a rock on Mars that was here on Earth, right?
Yes.
Well, I was a young guy.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking about this like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Like, how could a rock from Mars how could they know us from Mars in the first place? And they haven't been to Mars. That's the dumbest thing. And I got in trouble for that, right? Because I wanted validation. I said, how do you know us from Mars? How do you know? Well, because it has this. But how do you know that's what's on Mars? See, at that time, they didn't send anything up there.
Right.
They didn't send anything. They just made that up, right? Saying it's from Mars. But the same way they do that, they have told us, they have given us the illusion that the Earth has always been this way, that east and west has always been east and west. That's not true.
Okay.
That is not true, right? The Earth has gone through some violent changes, and they know that the sun is the primary driver of this global warming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They know facts about the Earth. They will not share. They know what the first iridium layer is. They know what the second iridium layer is. They know what's in between. That lava, when it settles, it'll do so orientated based on the magnetic field lines of the Earth. They know what the chaos region within that. They know exactly what that. They know some things about this Earth, and they're preparing because they know these things are cyclical, which means something we've never seen in our lives we're about to be exposed to. These people know this. They also know we don't have a lot of time. When you hear these folks sit up and say, well, you have nothing to worry about, or point an object out this, coming back in 10 years, please don't listen to that. We have more immediate issues. They know. It's just like,
well,
for
you've
example,
been saying you've been saying that if we can get through 2025, because I keep bringing up Apophis in 2029, and
I'm not worried about
you're
Apophis.
Not worried about Apophis because you're we got bigger problems.
Yes, we do.
You know, I want you to know, you talk about that rock and Mars. During this webinar we're doing, Aliens Among Us, there's an individual who talks about the rock they found on the Earth that's from Mars, and they know it now because we've now had a rover up there, and we know what Mars's surface is, and there definitely is. But also, Mike, we've in this webinar, we have a scientist who has confirmed Planet X, or planet number 9, and they know exactly where it is. He said we know the exact size of it, but we just can't see it because it's dark, or it's too far and it's dark.
Yeah, well, then I'll say the parts of the DoD can. They know a lot about it and its system, but it's not something they're going to be forthcoming about.
No, he said that.
Even when you're a university professor, right? They understand that if you're involved in a certain type of engagement, you may not need to know.
Yeah, there's only so much they even get to know, right?
They're not. Yeah, well, they're not going to disclose that to a university professor, because if that professor has a conscience, he's going to tell everybody. Right? He's going to risk everything. He's going to risk it all and tell everybody, because they hold a lot of credibility, and what he say matters, right? A university professor has credibility with the public, and if they say something, the public is going to hear them. So they're not going to tell them that. That rock on Mars, though, that's a different rock they're admitting from Mars. And so I believe that, but not that first one.
Not that first one.
Pulled that one out then. They did. I don't know where they got it from. They just, name stuff. But I guess my point behind it was this. They create a narrative. They talk about the narrative they created, and that's all people know. Now, you do that for one generation, and it becomes fact.
Yeah.
The next generation, and people will begin to defend somebody else's lie. That's what we have today. We have people who defend the lies of people who have come before them, right?
Yeah.
Which is why now you're having people take a second look and they say, wait a minute, this is not like they said it was, and this is not happening like they said it was, like global warming, right? They tried to pin global warming on human activity. But now people are starting to read reports of climate shifts happening on Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune and Mars and all these different planets. They know we're not up there. And once it's confirmed, they're like, oh boy, this is not, this can't be us.
Right.
Anyway, that's what happens with that. That's affecting like these ice sheets. When an ice sheet breaks off, right?
Yeah. Because
the temperature increase is exponential also. The melting is exponential, which means if the ice melted, if 100 miles of ice, let's say, how many tons of ice melt per year? It's like 150 billion tons of ice or something like that melt per year, right? 150 billion metric tons of ice per year. That rate has increased a lot. So every single year, more and more ice melts, and it's melting from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Wow.
From the bottom up.
Yeah.
And as that continues, the anchor of these ice sheets, they're going to collapse.
It's going to cause it's going to be a massive amount.
There you go. It's going to be a tsunami. It's going to be a global tsunami that will take place. Not what a big, 500-foot, 1,000-foot wall, no. But maybe 10 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe 15 feet. That's enough. That's enough to cause every front yard to be covered in Tennessee, in Kentucky, right? And to connect with the Great Lakes. If you look at the topology of the U.S., it's going to cause some problems.
What?
Now, of course, that water will end up receding, but the sea levels will have changed by then, right?
The Great Lakes.
Because that will also trigger earthquakes. Volcanism, right? That's too heavy of a shift. Anytime you have a tsunami, you run a risk you affect the imbalance of the plates, which have fluid. They have fluid underneath them. Sometimes they're connected, sometimes not. It's molten rock underneath them, sometimes not. But you affect the balance of that, and then all of a sudden you have continental drift. Abrupt continental drift. So we're already there. We're heading into a place that's just uncharted, save for prophecy, save for those who were alive at the time when it happened before. We don't have a comparison. and it's going to be rough. And it just so happens
we just had another earthquake.
We live on the earth at this time.
Okay, so now Alaska, there in the Aleutian Islands, just had a 5.9.
That's good news, though. That's good news.
Okay.
If you look at the way these plates are connected, that's good news. So Russia, Russia should have one probably in a couple of hours or something like that. Those are relief points, actually. The vibrations.
It's the same plate. If you follow this 5.9 up in Alaska, it goes right along the subduction zone, all the way down to Mexico, all the way down eventually to the big 7.4 that hit in Chile. It's all one big long plate.
Yeah. So they're connected because we still have volcanism that we have to go through too. This proximity or this gravitational pull that people are experiencing without knowing about it is going to start causing these geo effects.
Okay, talk to us about that. This gravitation.
Well, we have people probably have a whole lot more pain in their knees and in their legs, and they feel the slightest temperature changes. The other half of people are having issues with their skin. I'd like to know how many people are having issues with their skin as far as dryness. It's odd to say, but there's a reason for that. And now that everything is digital, right? Most calibrated pieces of equipment are calibrated at the server level, which means if they adjust a Geiger counter in Florida, but you live in, Canada, right? They can adjust your Geiger counter and alter it a little bit so that it is now giving you a lower reading, when in fact we have a higher reading, right? Things like that are happening. That's happening with aircraft. Their altimeters and all the equipment in aircraft was changed out. So their calibration, they can have a center of calibration offsite. That's happening. That has happened. All this to hide the fact that, of course, everybody knows about GMO food, right?
Yeah.
Try to eat some of this microwave popcorn and see. It's like you're eating some I don't know. It's like the kernels are made out of glass or something, right? They're pretty tough because the food is more resilient. People are picking up rubber watermelons. You can bend the thing in half and it won't break.
That's crazy.
Or the outside peels off.
Okay.
Right? Fish meat is the same way. They're selling fish where you can actually mash the fish up. Mash it up like Play-Doh, right? Squeeze all the water out. And then as soon as you put it back into the water again, it resumes its original shape.
What?
Yeah. So you have things like that happening.
Why is that happening?
Because they've altered food. They had to alter food because of higher doses of radiation. Radiation, by the way, causes skin problems. And here's something. This cancer issue, right?
Yeah.
Cancer. Now, it's a known fact that cancer rates went up as technology got better, so they said, right? That's what they said. In truth, the cancer rate is parallel to global warming.
It's connected.
Because the sun is causing it.
That's true. And more UV rays. And the Bible told us that the grass is going to burn up. And we're going to have, the sun is going to bring great heat. Men will be scorched and gnaw their tongues for pain and yet won't repent. These are signs in Revelation, right? Yeah.
And we're not, it's just like people are going to read this in a couple of months about some of the high temperatures that we're seeing in this month of July. 158. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
Degrees.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you said there was going to be 300-mile-an-hour winds and tornadoes, and we had one this year. Okay. You said we was going to have straight line winds that could hit 150 miles an hour, and I think we've hit that this year. So there is some things that you're right. Up in Indiana, there was a straight line wind last week that just blew down a bunch of trees and blew a restaurant over. And it was not a tornado. It was just a straight line winds. Yeah. They don't even know how hard this wind was because it's in the middle of nowhere.
And we can't take that. We can't.
No.
That's why we have a bad infrastructure, right? Our infrastructure is falling apart, is crumbling. No matter what they do.
Look at Houston.
It is falling apart.
Look how long
that's a night.
Why does it take so long? What's wrong?
Need I remind everybody of the power outage they had about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, during the winter.
And they couldn't get it. It couldn't get. Everybody was starting to talk about solar panels and everything else. Here's a fact: it's hot in Texas, right? Where you have heat, you have a degradation of electronic components, transformers, copper wire, zinc, whatever they lace it with. You have severe degradations of our power grid. Now, Texas represents most of the world as far as how the power system is going. So while everybody's talking about, watch out for the Carrington event, no. No, 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 no. A 10% increase. Oh, I'm sorry. 2% increase in solar activity would destroy a big portion of our grid. We can't take it. The copper's made with impurities in it to the point where that copper is just weak. It's very weak. It can carry electronic current. It's very flexible when it gets hot. But the cooling and heating of that copper wire destroys it. Right? They put zinc alloys and other alloys in it. Aluminum's a big deal now. It's not working. So they tried to bury some of the other lines. But then the water table is fluctuating so bad, it's causing, premature degradation of all underwater components. The water system, they're going to have to change the entirety of the water system next year anyway. The gas system is compromised. There are gas leaks all over America right now because the pipes, some of the piping that they used back in the 60s, and so they're gone.
Yeah, they're no good, right?
And the gas is going right through the dirt. And so we have so many issues and problems. And the enemy, here's the worst part about it. The enemy, our enemy, reads those reports about our infrastructure. They know where the weak points are. They know where our vulnerabilities are. And I'm telling you right now, they have the personnel and the equipment within the USA to take full advantage of it. They do.
Let me ask you then: all this information is available not to the general public, but to Washington. We give away billions, we give away trillions of dollars, while we let our infrastructure crumble. Does it make sense to you? I mean, so at what point does somebody stand up and say, "That's it"? Okay. For the next 10 years, everything's going to be invested in America. We have to, including our military, our infrastructure, our roads, our pipes. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to dig, baby, dig. We're going to become energy independent. I mean, don't we have to finally make that decision as a people?
Well, yeah, you have certain individuals, when they get into power, they line their pockets. They want everything to go by these experimental procedures, and they continue to line their pockets. So they take profits off that stuff, right? But when you have another group in power, they tend to, they're not worried about lining their pockets, right? They start to do things in this country again. And so, you're looking at those changes, alterations that way. So one party, they just amplify the desires of flesh. I'll put it that way.
Thank you.
And the other party is a bit different. Now, everybody has flaws and things like that.
Sure.
But I'll tell you something. This edifying of flesh stuff, I'm totally against. Absolutely, 100%.
Well, yeah, it's not going to do any good. It won't do any good.
Well, because it just degrades the quality of life for everybody, right? It causes unnecessary evil to spring up, and I know that we're facing some spiritual challenges here that people have not been introduced to yet. And that's the whole thing behind this UFO stuff, is we're in a very different time. And if people knew the elements that were truly involved, which they will, because even I'm losing my patience in trying to wait until some demonstration comes forward. My goodness, if people don't know this, they're going to get the future wrong, is what they're going to do, because they don't know, they have no idea the cruelty involved in this supposedly harmless subject. The subject is not harmless. This could cost a person everything. And when I say, listen, a person would rather lose their family members, all the limbs on their body, than to lose what's inside their bodies, right?
Right.
They would rather face a full army of ISIS that's ready to torture you for years, right, than to fall into the hands of what people have fallen into the hands to. So this subject is by no means passive. These things are inherent tricksters. I mean, big.
Wow.
They have people honestly believing that somehow they mean people no harm. And
It's a
people
lie?
have
Is it a
bought
lie?
that hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, boy. Get that out to us, Mike, because people are trying to embrace it. They run around with T-shirts. The aliens are coming. I mean, they got to understand what's going on here, don't they?
Yeah, but I'll give one hint, and that'll be it, though. But when everybody's small, there's something a person is always introduced to. Doesn't matter what race you're of, you're introduced to a specific life form when you're small, and you're introduced to that for a reason, not because it's just a fun thing. No, they start to indoctrinate people when they're young, so they will never ever see it. You ready? Dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That
Dinosaurs.
Little toys.
It is a
dinosaurs.
mandate. It's a mandate that every human being be introduced to. Now, God didn't give that mandate. I'll throw that hint out there.
Okay.
The Father did not give that mandate, right? It's one of the only things that they corroborate. That yes, they were huge and they were all over the place, and that's it. But everybody is introduced into them, so they seem harmless, even friendly. By some of the movies that they have out there, they create a desire for it, but it's a mandate. It's a mandate, so that nobody can ever suspect, see, or go further down that line of thinking. Yeah.
Good information, great information, and mostly thank you for your heart for the Lord and for the people.
It's always an honor, Pastor Paul. God bless you.
God bless. The honor's mine. God bless you.
All right.
Amen, brother.
God bless.